The views and opinions expressed by the hosts do not state or reflect those of the organization and its management. Furthermore, the views, opinions, and insinuations made by the host or guests do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the organization.
Welcome to Talk to Include, the podcast where we talk about stories, experience, and conversation that inspires, empower, and connect people from different walks of life. I'm Das Gomez, and I will be your host for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. And for this episode, we got great conversation that lined up today, and it's sparked by one question: what can rock music and psychology teach us about inclusion? And this is an interesting thing to me, and it sounds like an expected mix. Yes, it does, and no one better suited to answer that question than rather than our guest today. So I will introduce him in just a moment, so stay with us. So before we start this conversation, let's have a short recap from the previous episodes that we have. So we already had the first episode that we talked about differences, the second episode with Miss Kiana, and the recent episode which we have Miss Eunice, Jean Patron of Kita Kita Philippines, who shared her work in creating more inclusive communities and empowering persons with disabilities through advocacy and meaningful connections. If you missed that conversation, don't worry, you can catch the full episode on our social media pages. So now, without further ado, our circumstances don't define where we reach, as you will hear today. Purpose can be found in the most unexpected places. Meet Mr. Rian Rafael H. Fronda, a mental health professional, musician, and disability rights advocate. After losing his vision at 15 because of a progressive eye condition, he found purpose and agency through music before returning to school, where he graduated summa cum laude and salutatorian of the class of 2025 from the Philippine Women's University with a degree in AV Psychology. Today, as a registered psychometrician and certified human resource associate and performer known as Blind Ninja, he continues to challenge stigma and champion the voices of persons with disability. Everyone, with a round of applause, let's welcome Mr. Rian. It's an honor to have you with us today.
Good evening, po, ma'am. And good evening to all the listeners of this wonderful podcast. And I want to thank you as well for having me. This is truly a great opportunity, po. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much also, Sir Rian, for having this wonderful conversation for us to have this meaningful talk. I just want to ask, what's your headspace before having this conversation?
Mm. So it's been a while actually, po, since I've been in one of these fun interviews. It's been a while and it's brought back nostalgic memories for me when I was really in the height of like music and then my academic life. There were a lot of things like this and it's got me very excited and exhilarated and I'm very much looking forward to this fun conversation that we're about to have.
Thank you so much. So it's really great that you've been back to the game again. So let's start at the beginning. Rock
Mm,
music became an important point in your journey. You've
mm,
become known on stage as Blind Ninja. Can you
mm,
walk us through the story behind it and what does
mm.
it represent for you today?
Oh yes, yes. So in truth, I really didn't have any musical bone in my body at first when I was growing up, even especially for rock music. But when I was in high school, I guess the short of it is that, uh, like you said, I was born with a progressive eye disease that still to this day is unknown. So that came with cataracts. So I lost my left eye when I was 5, and then the progressive eye disease kind of accelerated my juvenile cataracts. And then when I was 15, I was third year high school then, 4 years. High school was still 4 years then. So I had very blurry vision because of that accelerated juvenile cataract. So I went to my parents and we decided to get a surgery, even though my doctors would did not agree. They said less is more. So uh, they thought it'd be risky, but I wanted to take the risk. And for a while, I guess for a week actually, uh, I was fine after the surgery. It was really great, and then I had really clear vision. And then a week, I guess a day after my 50th birthday in 2013, I just woke up and everything was more blurry than before, than when I had my juvenile cataract. So the doctors, they said that was a side effect of the cataract surgery. My eyes got this thing called uveitis. It means I had an inflammation in my eyes, and that uveitis created kind of like these webs in my eyes that made my vision blurry, very blurry, to the point that I needed a sighted guide. That was the first time I needed to attach myself to someone so that I could walk to place to place. So that was that. And then I guess all the bad news, really, it was a spiral down to really, I guess the word is really depressive mood, because I didn't really get any good news. Anything they would say is just we could be optimistic, but that's it. There's no good news that I could get my eyesight back. So I turned to music. I turned to music because at that point, uh I before I had my cataract surgery, I stopped. I bought a guitar. My parents bought me a guitar. I was learning for a month, and then when I had that when I was going blind, basically, I stopped that music for a while, for I guess 6 months. And then when I had enough of all the bad news that my doctors were telling me about my eyesight, I just suddenly picked up my guitar again and used that music as an escape from reality. That's why I say that music saved my life, especially rock and roll. And that's, I suppose, where my passion for rock music that I have now was born. And then after a while, I isolated myself. I escaped using music. I isolated myself for 2 years. I was embarrassed to be seen by friends, families, or any people, because I didn't want them to see what I've become, this blind person. I didn't even know who I was, but I know that I love music. And then my dad, he kind of forced me, really, he forced me to go to this place called School of Rock Philippines, and I'm grateful for him for that. And that's where I met my mentors, Sir Darrell, and all those people in the rock industry here in the Philippines. And they introduced me not only to a more profound level of rock music, but they introduced me to the reality that there are people out there who will accept me for who I am, who will not treat me like I'm another blind person, another burden in someone's life. They treat me just like what I want to be treated, a human being just like anyone else. And that's what they showed me there at School of Rock Philippines, that the people in the music industry can be accepting, and there are people that are accepting of us, and they don't treat you like you're some kind of charity case or something like that. And because of that, I gained back my confidence. I gained back my confidence, my self-esteem, bit by bit, by the power of music. They even encouraged me to perform. Hey, Ryan, why don't you start a band? Write your own songs. That's what I did. I wrote my own songs. I started a band. I won the first ever Battle of the Bands of that School of Rock Philippines. I became part of their house band twice, two generations, till it got disbanded. And until now, I I formed my band Blindside, and that Blind Ninja was formed there at School of Rock Philippines when one of my teachers there saw me walking by myself in one of their studio jam rooms we had there, and he said, "Ryan, ninja moves yan ah. How did you get from there to there?" And that's when I got the idea. Oh, ninja moves blind. I'm blind, so blind ninja. And I just wanted to copy my Guitar Heroes, like Slash or Axl Rose. I just wanted to have a stage name. So when I started Blindside, I referred to myself as Blind Ninja, and I don't know, it somehow stick with me until now, and I'm grateful for that it stick with me, and it became in psychology. Carl Jung, the psychologist, would say it's one of my personas. So when I put on my shades, because I only put on my shades when I perform on stage, I become Blind Ninja when I sing, when I use my electric guitar, acoustic guitar, whatever. I'm Blind Ninja, and that's a persona because you won't see me wearing shades outside of the stage. That's what I wanted to be, and that's how am now, and I'm very grateful for that. I guess that's the nutshell of my story as a rock musician, music saving my life, and Blind Ninja becoming a persona of mine right now.
Thank you so much. That is a wonderful story, and I was really amazed when you were sharing that music was the one who helped you and hold you tight, in which it
Mm,
became your eyes that
mm,
it manifests, in which you are now enjoying your life to the fullest. And
mm,
not everyone wasn't able to realize how music impacts someone's
mm,
life, and
mm,
listening to your story, music gave you something that went far beyond the stage.
mm,
Music
mm,
gave you the purpose.
mm,
Psychology gave you a profession, and advocacy became
mm,
your mission. So now,
mm,
how did those chapters come together, and what inspired you to use
mm,
your voice as an advocate for
mm.
person with disabilities?
Yes, that's a very good question. So the funny thing is that I did say that I actually stopped studying when I went blind. So for 9 years, I pursued the path of a musician. I was a professional musician up until now. But for that 9 years, I was just gigging around, recording stuff and such. And then the pandemic hit. So we really got a lot of opportunities in 2019, but then 2020 with the pandemic, everything stopped, even especially for us who we were primarily gigging musicians. So all the bars, the venues, they were closed. And that gave me time to reflect. And I pondered that I needed to be better at songwriting. I needed to upskill my the musical prowess that I was given. So I decided that maybe I can face my fears of going back to school and entering college, because before, I guess I didn't tell this. I experienced a lot of rejections because of my blindness. There were actually schools, high schools, and even colleges that told me that maybe you should go to another university or high school, so because we're not ready to handle a case like yours. That's just a very kind way of saying that we can't accept you here. Please go somewhere else. That's just a very kind way of saying it. So I kind of got dumbstruck by that, and that scarred me. So I didn't pursue any more academic pursuits for that 9 years because of that reason, that I was rejected. It really hurt me that people would say that to me, and they wouldn't give me a chance. So but then again in 2020, 2021, I was pondering, and I reached that epiphany that I needed to be better at music. So I wanted to pursue music school. I wanted to be actually something called a sound engineer. I wanted to be someone who would produce music using my laptop, because I know other blind musicians here in the Philippines introduced me to the world of music production for the blind. So I bought a laptop, I bought recording equipment for my home studio. I learned how to use my voiceover to edit music here in this laptop of mine. But then the dream school that I wanted to go to, the dream university, they rejected me as well. Not because I was blind, but thank goodness, but they rejected me because I didn't go to senior high. So they told me to go to a different university for now, do a bridging program. And then that's where I remembered that same teacher who told me about that ninja move story of my blind ninja origins. He was actually also an alumni of Philippine Women's University, and he told me a story that one of his classmates went blind as well when he was in college, and they helped him until he graduated. And that's I when I got the idea. What about PW? I'll send an email. Actually, my parents didn't know that I was sending emails to universities, and PW was actually one of two universities who answered me that they said that they do accept students with visual impairments, students who are blind, they accept them with open arms. So I took that chance. But for some reason, because I suppose it's divine intervention, and because I'm really a silly, a wacky person, I put in my admission form in the first choice, it's psychology. For some reason, because when I could see, I wanted to be a civil engineer, and my last choice at that point was psychology. I guess that came back to me unconsciously in that moment of my wackiness. So I put psychology as a first choice, and then music. Popular music was my second choice, and then IT was the third. And then I wanted to do a reverse psychology kind of thing. I said to myself that I'm not going to be accepted by this psychology program because look at my grades and look at me. I'm not really. I don't know if I could do psychology with the blindness, something like that. I didn't know. So I thought they'd reject me, but then our program chair, who I consider a great mentor now, Dr. Alcazarin, immediately contacted me through email and told me, "Can we hop on a call tomorrow for your initial interview?" And she told me that there was actually another blind student who's already graduating as I was entering their department. So they had an experience. So the joke was on me that the psychology department had great experience with blind students already. So I kind of had no choice, but at that point I said to myself, I'm gonna stick this out and see where it goes. I guess I'm that kind of person that goes with the flow and see where it takes me. And to my surprise, I really enjoyed psychology because being in the music industry for 9 years and experiencing the rejections and the stigmas that I faced when I was going blind and when I went blind already, it gave me a perspective of the good, the bad, and the people in the middle area who are both not really good but not really bad as well. They're just neutral. So that gave me an understanding of what are they thinking? And also to myself, what was I thinking when I was in that dark place when I was going blind? I didn't use the word depression. I didn't know what that meant. What is a depressive mood? That's where I learned that in psychology. And then all those rejections as well, those stigmas in my journey in the academe as a psychology student, really helped me, especially in the academe in my college. They really helped me to be more empowered. And then I met people like those in resources for the blind, like Ate Bless, I meant Ate Chrissy, those people who are really advocating, and they inspired me to gain my voice and to be. They said to be assertive, and that's what I did. I became assertive. I tested it out in my college. I became assertive by negotiating for accommodations with my professors, saying maybe perhaps ma'am, sir, we could do this for me. I could do this project instead because that project is more visually reliant. Maybe I could do my exam by a Google form or by someone, my sighted guide reading to me and I'm dictating, something like that. I learned to be assertive to so that I could survive basically in college. And that helped me to gain my voice as an advocate because I also heard stories from other blind college students who I'm friends with who are experiencing stigmas. Like someone told me that one of their professors didn't know that person was blind and they said, basahin mo yan. What? Oh, why were you not aware? And some stories like that that people are still stigmatizing others. So that's how I suppose I became an advocate as well because I wanted to be someone who could be the voice of the silenced, someone like that, just like the other advocates out there who inspire me. I want also to be a voice for those who don't have that voice yet who are still developing that voice, and being in psychology, being in the academe, and being in rock music also allows me to be an advocate, because through my songs I'm able to spread my advocacy, and through my public speakings I'm able to spread my advocacy to my posts and such like that. And I suppose that's where I am right now. I'm really grateful for my college for having me, for empowering me, and for the people, the advocates out there who inspired me to be an advocate as well. And I suppose that's my story for that question, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Realizing that many people will having that kind of thought that, oh, he's a blind person, so I think he will not survive. But
Mm,
you prove them wrong. You prove
mm,
them na, no, ma'am, this blind person is not just the ordinary blind person. I can conquer, not just
mm,
being, I can face them, but rather you conquer them in a
mm,
ways that you were able to manage,
mm,
because we all know that living in this world, especially
mm,
entering college, is the entry gate of hell, as they
mm.
mean
Yeah.
it. Because
Mm,
I had that kind of scenario also when I had a not blockmate, but rather a co student
mm,
org, which is
mm,
also a blind person.
mm,
He was born blind, so
mm,
we guided him. Then they use a kind of equipment for
mm,
reading. I'm not
mm,
familiar with that kind of equipment, so
mm,
it so happened that you are blessed, and also you are in the right circle in which it improves you and gives you the perspective of, this is my chance to voice out, because I
mm,
you want other people notice that,
mm,
man, being blind is not a disability, but rather it's an innovative way, because you
mm,
learn different things from music, from
mm,
entering psychology, from
mm,
graduating summa cum laude, and
mm,
everything else is really fascinating. And
mm,
you inspired people, and how we heard your story, your personal
mm,
journey has shaped you, the work you do today. And now, from your perspective,
mm.
what's one misunderstanding or assumption about person with disability that you've encountered time
Mm.
and time again?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I suppose my answer is that people would always think that we are not able. But the funny thing is, you can't really spell disability without the word ability, or disabled without the word able. So we prove that we're not disabled, or if you call us disabled, or we have a disability, we've proved that the word able and ability are in our spirit, are in our very essence. So that's kind of the stigma that I've experienced, and I suppose a lot of us have experienced as well, that people think that we're just for charity. That's the word. I've heard that actually in the music industry. People, when I was just starting out, people said that, hey, it's that charity bad, the charity guy. Maybe he'll give us some envelopes to give money in. So I heard that, and that hurt me. And I went to prove them wrong, that no, you just listen to my music. I don't need your money. I need you to listen to my music. I need you to hear my screams. I want you to hear my guitar. And then that's what I also said in college, with my essays, with my public speaking, with my presentation, with all the things that I did there in my college. Wanted to show them that I'm not a burden. I'm also someone who can meaningfully contribute to whatever endeavor you are trying to achieve, whether it is academic, musical, or societal. I am someone who can actually contribute meaningfully to that endeavor, and I am not the only one who does that. I am not the only blind person, the I'm not the only PWD who can do that. So that's the stigma, that's the misunderstanding that I want to dispel, basically po.
Thank you so much for elaborating those misconception, because I know many people are really thinking that once you are already blinded,
Mm,
uh you're not worthy of being respected. Let's
mm,
face the reality. That's
mm,
the reality in
mm,
which we are living up today. And
mm,
to have you as a person with a background of having the rejection that you
mm,
mentioned a while ago, and
mm,
from impossible things to turning it into impossible.
mm,
And just what you mentioned, the
mm,
disability is a ability.
mm,
It really proves that you just need to take courage,
mm,
faith, and slowly take yourself one by one as you stood up in the ground.
mm,
Because in facing such reality, it will never be easy. But
mm,
I'm really amazed and proud on how you work things up to get
mm,
back on your feet. So
mm,
from what you mentioned,
mm,
it is evident that some of the challenges that PWDs face today came from the assumption people
mm,
make. And
mm,
sometimes those assumptions go unnoticed until
mm,
someone challenges them.
mm,
And when those assumptions go unchallenged,
mm,
they can be influence, opportunities, and even way people with disabilities are
mm,
treated. With that in mind,
mm,
how do you hope your work as an advocate
mm,
helps address them?
mm. Yes. In my case, I firstly I want to use the platform that I have been given, the honor. As I said, I was able to achieve summa cum laude status. I was able to achieve kind of a status in the rock music. I'm Blind Ninja. I want to use that platform to be again a voice to advocate for those who cannot advocate yet for themselves. I want to spread the message of awareness about us, the PWD community, that we are, again, we keep repeating, but we say that we are able to, again, meaningfully, constructively contribute to society. We just need alternative ways. But as I said, when life gives you lemons, you make orange juice, because we can't make lemonade, we make orange juice. But that's the same thing, that's just juice. So that's the same thing we do alternative ways, but we achieve the same and sometimes even more greater results than the others in mainstream society. We just need, I just want to say that we just need a chance. That's it. We need a chance. We need to work hand in hand with the people in mainstream society and the PWD community to work hand in hand, to be hands in inclusion, as they say, to achieve a truly inclusive, equal society. And I want to use my platform to be one of the instruments for that. Even though I'm kind of in a dormant state right now, I'm doing my part. Actually, as an example of my advocacy, when I went to work, I'm actually working right now, they required me to open a bank account. And that's one of the problems for us in the blind community. Banks do not want to give us ATM accounts. They want us to have joint accounts, or they want us to sign quit claims that they're not responsible for anything that what happens to us. But that's not inclusive. That's against RA 7277. All of the PWD laws for inclusivity, BSP policies and memos. So I went to actually, I was just supposed to go to one bank, but I went to two because I wanted to try my advocacy on them. I actually debated with higher management, went to regional management, and I actually won my cases. I now have two bank accounts with two different banks. And that's what one way that I gain data. I suppose that's kind of a field work for me. I gain data on how far I can take this advocacy. I want to know how far the unawareness of these financial institutions are, and it really runs deep. But the good thing is that they were open. They were open to listen, even though we had like heated debates. But in the end, they were open to listen, and that's what's important for that hands-in inclusion that we want. That hand-in-hand inclusion that the other party needs to listen, really listen, and we need to speak our minds. We need to speak our minds and then come up with a solution that will yield great results, inclusive results. So I gained that data and I used my advocacy for that. And I gave that data actually to the other advocates who are more active than me so that they can use those data to help the others who are actually still struggling with that kind of issue, that banking issue right now. So that's one way that I'm doing. I kind of like a ninja. I'm again in the shadows doing my part. But one day I suppose I'll return. But for now, I'm gonna do my part as the blind ninja, even in the PWD community, advocating in the background, giving data to those more active advocates than me. But again, I suppose every little thing counts in our community. Every little small wins, as they say, we need to celebrate. And the small data that we get will go a long way to going to that path to true inclusivity.
Indeed, you said it all right. Like how you explain it, the explanatory, how you address it is really thoughtful, and you were really giving it the voice. Like, no, it's not this and that, but rather you're facing them with honesty, with
Mm,
credibility, with courage. Like if other people, it's like you speaking them in a sense that if I can do this, I know other people will
mm,
do this. They
mm.
just need one person to stood
Yes.
up, to
Yeah.
show up, so that they can be inspired. And in those ways, you are truly amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Rayan. That's definitely something to reflect on. We'll
Mm,
have a, we'll take a quick break and pause,
mm,
but don't go too far, our amazing listener. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with
mm,
Mr. Rayan and hear his thoughts on the progress that has been made and the work that still lies ahead. Stay with
mm.
us.
Inclusion isn't just a goal, it's a partnership we build together.
Pamilya, anuman ang kakayahan, isang adhikain para sa aking nabukasan. Iparinig ang sigaw, ipakita ang ningning. Ang mundo ay sa atin din. May tatag ng loob na hindi matitinag, may lakas na mula sa pusong naglalayag tungo sa inklusyon. Bawat isa'y may puwang sa hands in inclusion, wala nang may kulang. We are strong, standing tall and free, empowerment for you, inclusion for me. Nakalakas, inklusyon. Inclusion, sin inclusion, Philippines. Kayang-kaya, basta't sama-sama.
Welcome back. If you're just turning in, we're in conversation with Mr. Rian, and it's been an eye opening discussion so far. And absolutely, Mr. Rian, it's so inspiring to hear the work you're doing. Advocacy involves seeing both victories and the unfinished work. When you look at the Philippines today, what progress have you seen in PWD's inclusion, and where do you think we still have the most work to do, Mr. Rian?
Yes, I suppose that's for me.
That's a such an encouraging perspective. By the way, listening to those words that you mentioned today, even in a short time, brings me to one final reflection, especially to those our listeners. I know you've learned a lot from all of our guests. I know you've learned the importance of inclusion, and
Mm,
everyone should be aware that including someone is not a disease, but rather It makes someone felt happy. It makes
Mm,
someone felt valued.
mm,
So this brings to my one final reflection about your story.
mm,
If the 15-year-old Ryan could meet the person you are today,
mm.
what do you think would surprise him the most?
Oh, I've actually thought about that. That kind of story. If I met myself in the past, well, first of all, I will. The first thing that I suppose I'd see is that wow, that's the word. Wow, how because the young me would say to the old me right now is wow. How did me become you? Because back in the day, I'm your classic introvert nerd. That's basically who I am until now. But now I'm an advocate. I'm empowered. That wasn't me before. So I guess that's what he would think. Wow. And I would say to him if I met him, just go just do what you're doing right now, because if I wasn't the person I was before, I wouldn't be the person I am now. I wouldn't have face the challenges that made me stronger, the challenges, the discrimination, the rejections that made me the person who I am today. I needed those realities that I needed those realities that they say you're blind. Wala, ano ka, pabigat ka. Those thoughts, those dark thoughts that you're a burden to your family. I needed to face that so that I could overcome them, because as they say, I suppose I would reflect on the saying of this existential psychologist Rollo May. He said that destiny is the design of the universe inside all of us, and all we have to do to embrace that destiny that the universe designed for us is to face our anxieties and worries. And I was anxious and worried of being a blind person, but look where I am today. I suppose that's where I'll end it.
Thank you so much. Based on what you've said, I came up with the word wow. Wow means is you are warm-hearted because
Mm,
from feeling of rejected, you redirect yourselves to, no, I need to cope up things. But you didn't do it in a hurry, but rather
mm,
you do it slowly. You are
mm,
taking one step at a time. You did a thing that I need
mm,
to isolate myself first, not
mm,
because I want people to be rejected, but
mm,
rather I need to warm myself. I need
mm,
to accept myself first before
mm.
accepting others.
Yeah.
And that's how I describe you as a warm-hearted person. The
Mm,
second one
thank you.
is which is outrageous. Why
Mm.
you outrageous the things beyond any other people would imagine.
Mm,
You people might think that you have limitations, but
mm,
you outrageous them. You show
mm,
them that no, this is not only the limit that I can give.
mm.
This is not
Yeah.
only the limit that I can
Mm,
showcase. I can do more, and
mm,
more is doing more makes you outrageous. And
mm,
I appreciate you for being that kind of person. And the last one is a wonderful person. Despite
mm,
all of the happenings that you have or you've experienced,
mm,
you still choose to be a wonder to other people because by those
mm,
simple acts that you
mm,
did,
mm,
even in the past and in the future or in the present, you
mm,
made one simple person inspired for being who you are. It's either
mm,
you inspired them for being a musician
mm,
or you inspired them to become a voice, an
mm,
advocate,
mm,
or else you inspired them to be a good student.
mm.
And those, wow, hello, am I still audible?
Yes, now
I,
you're audible po.
sorry, a while ago, there was some internet
Mm,
disruption. So, again, there was some switching of internet, so sorry
that's
for
it.
that. Am I still audible?
Yes. Yes. Po.
Going back to what I am saying,
Mm,
before we let you go, we love to ask this one final question for you.
mm.
What kind of world do you hope the next generation of persons with disability grows up in?
Yes. I suppose the word that I will use is accepting. I see and envision an accepting world, an accepting society for the next generation of PWDs. Because even though we are accepted right now, but still the stigmas remain, the discriminations remain, the implementations are not there, the actions are still ongoing. So we want that accepting world, because when people have an accepting view of the PWD community, then the talks will be more meaningful than they are even more right now. That's the world that I envision, because acceptance, again, will be the bridge to true inclusion, to a true, equal, inclusive society for the next generation. We want to work hand in hand with the mainstream society. We don't want to mention mainstream society. We just want to mention society as a whole. That includes PWDs and people who do not have the disability that we have. So that's it for me. I suppose we just want an accepting world.
Thank you so much. I learned so many things from you, from having your wow in you, the things
Mhm.
that how you cope up with the scenarios, the happenings, how you include yourself, how you let people be aware of this kind of situation. And I was also amazed on how good you are as a performer, because during the Infinite Nine, I was also the
Yeah.
host. And
Yes.
I was really amazed by, wow, he is a good performer. And by those instances, it's been a privilege to hear your experiences, the lesson you've learned along the way, Mr. Rian. Thank you again for spending your time with us.
Thank you very much for having me, ma'am. Thank you very much to Sir Royland, to the whole Hands and Inclusion team, and may your work prosper even more in the next coming years. Thank you very much.
It's been an insightful conversation. I think a lot of us will be reflecting on what you've shared long after today. We will surely be amazed if today's conversation resonated with you all, our amazing listeners. We hope you continue this conversation with the people around you. That's a wrap for today's episode. Every conversation like this brings us one step closer to more inclusive community. Let us keep the conversation going, and our official social media channel, which you can find on your screen. And while you're there, hit that follow button so you can never miss a new episode or update as we upload every week or every month. We'll also love you for being part of our community. Let us know what you thought about today's episode, or share your ideas about our future topics. And if you like to support the work we do through our donation, flash on the screen, guys, it's all flash on the screen, is the QR code of our, or you can find more information on our official social media pages. Every bit of support goes a long way. Thank you for being us today, and I am Des. Remember, inclusion begins with hello together. Now, let's talk to include. Thank you so much for having a wonderful conversation together with Mr. Rian. Have a wonderful night ahead and see you for our next episode. God bless.